Hi guys, my name is Mike Kranenburg. I'm a stand-up paddler for about 10 years now. We're gonna talk about the SUP11 City. I've done the SUP11 City around 10, 11 times now. I've done it double sometimes. And together with Bart, they call us the 2K Club, what is pretty cool actually, because Bart was always a really big example for me. And it's really cool to be on the same level as he is for the distance, of course, because in any other way he's above everything. 2015 I did the non-stop and the 5 day straight. In that period of time we started on Monday for the non-stop and on Wednesday for the 5 days, so it was going straight on for a full week. Nowadays we do the non-stop in the weekend and the 5 days start at Wednesday, so for people who willing to do the non-stop plus the 5 days straight in a week, it's a little bit easier because you have 2 days of rest. It wasn't in those days, so I was the first who tried to do the non-stop and 5 days straight, and I did it for collecting money for research to cancer, because my mom was diagnosed with cancer like 8 years ago. She passed away 1.5 years ago because of the cancer, so that was always a big motivation to go big with the paddling. 2015 I missed the SUP11 City because I was injured after the double paddling from 2015, but 2017 I came back and did a double non-stop with the most horrible conditions you can ever imagine. Even the airport was closed for 2 days because of the weather, and I was standing there on my board in the middle of nowhere of Friesland, doing a double non-stop. So I've done the non-stop a few times, I believe 5 or 6 non-stops, something like that. In total I have 10 or 11 crosses of the SUP11 City, so I done a few laps over there. What's the longest distance you paddled? One of the questions, and I have my questions there on the screen, so if you see me watching, it's to see what the questions are for today. The longest distance you ever paddled, that was around 440k. That was the double non-stop, and I can tell you it was a really long trip, around 75 hours with 2 days rest in between, to get some sleep, of course, and to refill all the things I have to eat on the way, because if you go paddling for that long it takes a lot of food. What has been the toughest route you paddled? Probably that was the same year, 2017, the double non-stop, because as already said, the weather condition was more than horrible. It already started with the first non-stop. The weather was really poor. It was stormy, it was lightning, there was such a strong winds you cannot even imagine. For every stroke you make forwards you go 5 backwards. It was a really long first stop of the non-stop, because of the conditions. We have to stop several times on the water as well, and when the 5 day tour started they even had to skip the first day because of the weather conditions. So that was probably one of the most toughest paddles so far, combined with the distance and to had my mind set on a double non-stop. So 2017 was a tough year, but I can tell you we had more than one years that were that tough, because I can remember, I believe it was 10,010, and about every 2 years there is a year that has really poor weather, with strong winds and a lot of rain and everything you can imagine. Hey, but that is what is the SUP11 City. That makes the SUP11 City. You don't know what the weather is going to do. You can have beautiful weather conditions, or you can have the most horrible weather condition and everything in between. That is the SUP11 City. What does pedaling give you? It gives me a lot of satisfaction. For the last 7-8 years I've been pedaling for my mom and pedaling to collect money for cancer research, and every time when I succeeded, it really gives me a lot of satisfaction, because my mom was standing there most of the time on the finish line. And even though it wasn't always easy, because she was really having good and bad days, and especially 2018, that was the last time she was there, and a few months later she passed away, because it was over, her body was done. But I'm really happy that she was there in 2018 for the non-stop finish, especially thinking about how she was feeling and how bad it was going at that point. But I have a really nice group of friends around me, same as my mom, really nice people around us, and everyone also from the organization really helped out to make it some really memorable day, as well as it is a hard day. But it gives me a lot of satisfaction to see my mom there, and ever since the pedaling is different, so I have to do it more for myself, and that makes it a little bit harder. But still, especially the SUP11 City is always emotional, and it probably always will. And then the same, yeah, it's almost the same answer. What moment you will always remember in pedaling career? I think the last 7 years of the SUP11 City is all memorable, because my mom was most of the time there, no matter how sick she was, if she was on the chemo or if she was on the radiation. She always tried to be there on the finish line and to pick up 1 or 2 days if I did the 5 days, or even when I did a non-stop plus 5 days, she was there on both finishes. Last few years she was always in the boat, so big thanks to the organization. But she was in the boat for the last couple of miles, so we were paddling together. So that is good times. What is the biggest title you won? I don't think pedaling for me is about winning titles. I'm not the strongest pedaler out there. I'm not on the podium. I've been on the podium two or three times, so no big titles. I'm just in the midfield somewhere. I wish I was going a little bit faster, but I'm a little bit better in pedaling long than pedaling really fast. I'm more into the mental part of pedaling, instead of going really fast. I don't have the power, the strength, or maybe it's a technique, I don't know why, but I cannot keep up with the big guys. And I'm not a pro pedaler. I cannot work full-time on the pedaling. I have a normal day job, I have a family to take care of. I have to work to pay my bills, and that work ain't the stand-up pedaling. So for me it's a sports I do, where I started with as a challenge. I've been challenged like 10 years ago to do 1 day at the SUP11 City, and ever since I've been pedaling and doing competition in the Netherlands, doing competition wherever possible, and what is in reach in distance, but also financially, because most of the things I have to pay for myself. And I'm really happy with Mistral as a sponsor, to get me some gear, to give me some to give me a board, to give me a pedal, and help me out wherever possible. But competition and most of the things I have to pay for myself. So on the questions, what is the biggest title you ever won? It's only like small races, or nothing big. My best prestige is still the SUP11 and everything I done over there. But as said, I think that the SUP11 City is some sort of my thing. What's your favorite place to pedal? I think we're living in the Netherlands, and I think the Netherlands all over is a really beautiful place to pedal. I really like to go out, put the board on the roof of the van and drive somewhere and put the board in the water. So I think the Netherlands, as far as I can see and I can tell, I really like it. But when I'm with James van Drunen in Spain, I also really like it over there, different kind of conditions. So I think there's a lot of beautiful places, so I don't have one in special for that. As said, it's like over 10 or more. I even lost count on that, so if you know, please tell me, because I lost count and I gave a lot of the medals away to my mom with her in the grave. So I really don't know how much medals I have at the moment and how much it should be. So I've done a lot of non-stops over the last few years, and my biggest motivation was always my mom, and that made it really easy for me to do those kind of distance, because it really motivates me to go harder and to go further. So every time when I was feeling sorry for myself, I really was telling myself there's someone really close to you who has a much more tougher time than you do, so keep it up and keep pedaling. So that was a really big motivation, but I really think for distance like the SUP11, you have to be really okay with yourself, because you're standing on the board. Most of the time you're standing alone or in a really small group. You don't have much to say. After 2 days you have said everything probably, so no time for chit chat, and especially if you go fast. You want to save your energy, so get along with yourself well. That really helps. And how do you prepare for the pedaling? Just make the mileage. The more you're standing on the board, the easier it goes. But I will tell you a little bit more about later. What's my favorite exercise for pedaling, strength and mobility? Besides the pedaling, I do a lot of CrossFit. That really helps me through. Over the last few years, I find some really nice guys who helping me out with the CrossFit. I found a good box, so that's really a tip for all of you guys. Go find a good spot to do your strength and your workout, and find some good guys for yourself to help you out with the exercises you need, because it's I can tell you what I'm doing, but I think for everyone it's different. Everyone has things to work on and other things that's already more in your nature, so find someone who can help you, who's specialized in stuff like this, and let he fix it for you. So that's something I can surely advise to you all. Do you have a special diet? Not special, but I do really watch what I'm eating. I would like to eat healthy. I don't eat a lot of meat or fish. I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but I'm really aware of what I'm eating. So what I'm eating is most of the time quality foods, and I eat a lot. I really eat a lot. I use a lot as well. I know from my trainings how much I burn in an hour. So that means when I do the non-stop, I have to stop every 2.5 hours to eat. Otherwise I won't finish. So that's also for you guys. If you want to do a non-stop in your training, know how much you burn up. Don't start eating late, because the later you start eating, the bigger the gap between what your body needs and what you can provide your body, and that won't help you till the end. So for me personal, I stop every 2.5 hours to have something to eat, so my body is enough fueled till the end. And trust me, in the end everybody is hurting, everybody is hungry. It's really hard to eat in the end. So the sooner you start eating, the more your body absorbs. So that really helps for this kind of distance, because 220k non-stop is quite a pedal. So start eating at time. What do you change your training routine when we prepare for the long races? I try to get off from work and I try to pedal as much as possible. I don't do the same thing every day because I believe the more you mess up your training, so you do a long training and maybe in the same day you do a really short interval training, or the more you shuffle it up, the stronger the body gets. So most of the time I try to get some days off, some weeks off from work, because I'm not a full-time pro. I get not paid for the pedaling. I wish I could live from it, but no, I can't. So I have a normal day job, so that means that I have to get days off from the boss and to have that bit of extra training. Most of the time I take 3 extra weeks before the race, and in those 3 extra weeks I try to train as much as possible, and I try to mess up my trainings all the time. So then I'm in the gym doing my CrossFit workouts, then I'm on the water, and most of the time I train 2-3 times a day depending on the distance. If I have a really long distance, I train twice a day. If I do shorter distance, I train 3 times a day. And it's not all on the water, it's also on the water, in the gym, on the water, and sometimes twice a day in the gym, only once in the at the water. So I mess everything up just to get the body as strong as possible. So that's how I prepare. And again, the same with the food. If you train and you're not try to train with your supplements and with your food plan, it's really hard to fix it in the race, because in the race you cannot change everything. If the race is there, you have to stick to the plan and you have to know what your plan is. Maybe small adjustments, but that's it, because you have to do everything in your training. So if you have nutrition for your race, try it in training so you can see how your body responds to the supplements. If it is a shake or a bar or something else, train with it, know how your body reacts on what you're using, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let go of the plan, take something else. Most of the time I don't use much supplements, some extra protein and some BCA drinks, and most of the time that's it. When I'm training a lot, like the 3 weeks before the SUP11, that's where I use a lot more, because then I'm practicing with the bars and the gels and how everything responds on my body, but also can I eat it, because that's also a really important thing. If you have really nice bars, some really nice cakes, or anything that you think it's really nice to eat, but it doesn't work out for you in the race because it's really hard to eat, or you cannot swallow it because it's really dry, it doesn't work for you in the race. So test everything you take along with you on the way on the SUP11, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So then you have to find something else. Can you give a stroke technique sub-race tip? Yeah, it's really simple. Keep pedaling. I don't have the best technique, I think. I try on the really long distance not to overdo it in power, because it's if you have to race for more than 24 hours straight, you don't want to lose all the extra strength, because it costs you in the end. So I try to be efficient on the pedaling, but you have to keep pushing, of course. And what really helps for me is to stay in the rhythm. I have a rhythm in my head, and sometimes I listen to music and I keep that rhythm over and over and over. So we were talking about doing a non-stop. A few really important things if you do a non-stop is, of course, your training. Train as much as you can, train as wide as you can, and I mean that in try to get every aspect from the pedaling. So get your distance, get used to training at night in the dark, because it's a really different kind of way to pedal. really feel different. Also trying to find out how it works for you with your food, how often you need to rest. One of the most common mistakes I see at the NONSTOP is people having a plan based on their training and working on GPS. They are used to have an average of 8.5 in training, and that is what they really want to keep up during a non-stop, not considering the weather condition or anything. They are really blind into the GPS. When I train with the GPS, yes. I like to know my speed, I like to know my average, but as soon as I start with the non-stop, I don't use my GPS anymore, because I don't want to see how fast I'm going at that point or what my average is, because in the end with the non-stop you have to finish, and first you have to finish first, so simple as that. And if you're staring blind on the GPS and about everything you know from your training, it can really burn you up, it can really make you go crazy and make that you don't get to the finish line. And I've seen it more than once that people are so blind on the GPS, they are going too fast at the beginning, and guys, trust me, you have to be over the halfway point and then the race really starts. If you pass the 100k, then it's getting tougher and tougher, like every 3 hours or so. So don't go blind on GPS. Another tip I really want to give you guys is don't do anything you haven't been done in your training. That means if you have been training with eating pancakes on the board during your pedaling, don't use something else instead. So don't take stuff with you on non-stop that you haven't been tried in training, because you really don't want to have a situation that you have, like, say, energy bars and you cannot eat them because they are too dry or too sticky or too tough to eat on the board, because you have a high heart rate. That also means that your breathing is more heavy, your mouth is getting drier than usual, especially when you're standing on the board for a really long time, and you have all kind of bars with you and you cannot eat them because of any reason, or that you use some kind of energy gel and your body don't respond well on it and you have to be off the board to you know what, instead of keep pedaling. So don't do anything in competition that you haven't tried already in training. And also a thing I really prefer is people putting every kind of junk in their water bag for energy drinks or some kind of powders to give them extra hydration or something else. Stick to water and in your camelback. So if you have something on your back or on your waist, stick to the water, because especially when you get tired or condition getting really rough, your body is used to water, because most of your body, 70% of your body is made out of water. So stick to the water in your camelback, and everything else you can drink on the side, but try to have your base done on water, and everything else just grab it from the side from someone who's supporting you, or put it extra on the board, or maybe you have a little bit extra capacity, or maybe you can use a double bladder in your bag, so you have one with the water and one with the extra drinks. But guys, trust me, also when you do the 5 days, stick to water as much as possible, because it will come back to you in a really bad way sooner or later. So I've seen it a lot, people who's getting ill, not feeling well because everything they have been drinking other than water. So stick to the water. You have break every now and then you can drink something else. So don't make it harder as it is. Stick to the basics, keep it simple. Same thing, like everyone tried to do the non-stop as fast as possible. I don't think, for me, it's not go as fast as possible, but just finish. As said, first you have to finish first. So and a lot of people have to step out of the race in the second half, so I already start from the beginning to have a straight rhythm. Like I stop between every 2.5 hours for a really short break, like 5 up to 10 minutes. In the end, it really helps me to get to the finish line, because when I stop every 2.5 hours, I have time to drink something else than the water, or to eat something more than just your energy bar. I like to have some solid food, because I know I burn up a lot of energy. In the end, it's really hard to get a lot of food in when your body needs it most. So I start really early in race to eat, so everything that's already into my body is a big extra. Especially when it's getting rougher and rougher. Also, things about clothing. Make sure you have enough clothes with you. It can be really nice warm weather, it could be cold weather, it could be raining. Make sure you have enough, because you feel really horrible when it's cold, raining, and you cannot wear anything warmer or more dry than what you have on at that point. So if it is possible to have a team around that helps you out, I always take a 2-man crew with me to drive around, to have the extra bit of food, to have extra clothing or anything I need on the way. So yeah, quite simple. As said, same with the night training. Make sure you have the right kind of light. I tried multiple times to not use the light. When it's like a full moon, it's okay to have no light on the board, but trust me, if you don't have a light on the board, especially when just before sunset, it's really tiring, and you burn up a lot of more extra energy. It costs you a lot of more concentration. So have enough light on the board. It really helps you out to have a little bit more energy left by the time the morning comes. Yeah, so that's for now. If you have more questions, please let me know. I'm always welcome to answer them in a new video. So for now, see you later, guys. Stay positive. Try to train as much as you can in these really strange and weird conditions, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.